sound up. Awesome. Um, Thank you, Felicia, for that nice introduction. And I think you've talked me off the ledge several times as well. So that's awesome. Thanks everybody for coming today. I hope I'm under 20 minutes, but do ask your questions. Felicia's going to pipe in where necessary, but it might be easier to just do the Q&A and the wraps. Also, thank you, HAYVN, for bringing this group there. I'm sorry I missed the members this morning, but thank you for the scones. And thank you for the opportunity to put on concealer and mascara today. That was a refreshing change in my day. And I'm excited to chat in particular about this focusing and filtering your social media. And this idea came about literally, and as I want to say that second or third, let's say that third week in March, right? So we're going into lockdown, we're all on our phones, we're scrolling, we're getting news. I mean, not if that sounds familiar, but basically my exercise for about 2 weeks. Part of it also was I had family in Kentucky, I had somebody in England, and I was trying to sort of garner all this information. But I also found at the end of the day, my time with social was completely exhausted. And so I had to start getting a little strategic and using some tricks and tools to not get so overwhelmed. And so I really thought I wanted to share that with other people because I'm getting a sense that that's also going on. You know, strategy one would be just get off social media, right? And for those of you who have made that decision, awesome. That's fantastic. Great. You know, and maybe even you've incorporated a bit of a social media break. That's great. But in all fairness, in this day and age of social distancing and isolation, we're spending more time on social because we are social beings. So I think, again, I don't want to call it very evil. It has its upsides, but for the, you know, just completely sort of shutting it off may not be working for some people. Also, if you're navigating your way through running your business, social is also another way that you're connecting with your businesses. So I wanted to just sort of think about this sort of twofold, whether this is for you personally in terms of consuming it, but this is also, some of these tools and tricks can help you move from how you're consuming it to also think about how you're using it and how you can use it more strategically actually for your business. And so as we walk through, I'm going to go through each platform, really sort of, I started thinking at it as a defensive strategy, but you'll see as we move through this, we will more to an audio strategy. I mean, shift audio. We'll shift more towards an offensive strategy. I'm watching your face, Felicia. Am I okay in terms of audio and everything? Okay. And the other way to think about this with regard to the actual networks themselves, you know, they each have their own individual algorithm that's taking the input and how you engage with those platforms and trying to figure out how to best serve you the content it wants. And what I personally find is do a great job. Each platform being different, but I get frustrated by what they think I should be seeing. And so my other intention with some of these things we're going to talk about is to almost give each platform or each network a little more direction about this is more the stuff I want to see. Some of this. We'll go through each one, but with many of them, I'm like, wait, I've seen that 50 times. Just because it's popular doesn't mean I need to see it. Or why are you, there are many things that pop up. I'm like, why on earth are you showing me this? So, I just also understanding what's going on behind the scenes with each of the networks, I think is also really important. And again, helping you take charge of that and control that is important. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and look at 4 different platforms. I'm going to look at Twitter, I'm going to look at Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And I'm going to go real time. I'm going to share my screen. So, and try and give you on each platform of a couple of things that I do that I'm hoping you can do with each of these. Full disclosure, as this is live, I have no idea what's going to show up on any feed. So hopefully it's all appropriate and not proprietary. But I hope nothing comes up that's the least bit embarrassing or offensive. So with that, I'm going to start with Twitter. Let's go to share screen. I'm going to go up. And again, we're going to look at this on a desktop just because I thought it'd be easier for your viewing. But all of this you can also do on your phones. So I'm starting with a couple of reasons. One, it's actually, as I mentioned earlier, it's actually where I go for my news in times of crisis, and also to get to try and laser focus when I need regional information. The other reason I use it is I work with writers and authors, and this really is one of their most preferred platforms. I know that a lot of people and a lot of business, it's a beast. Necessarily, they're not ready to maintain it, but Twitter happens to be one of my favorite places. You just have to sort of know how to tame it. So back to that idea about, so I could literally go on and scroll and scroll and scroll, right? But what I was finding and doing that frustration we talked about. And so one of the things I do, and I was doing this even before crisis mode, is I actually use a function called lists. And I'm hoping you can see this. So list is an opportunity where you can go in and create very specific and filtered lists of people on Twitter that you may or may not follow. And they can be public or they can be private. So an example of how I use lists, so that here's a whole bunch of different ones, women's conferences, book peeps, critical thinkers. The one I wanted to point out was, at least for us, can't get to it because I'm going to move that little bar so I can't see it, was local Twitterazzi. And so that is a group, I don't remember how many people are in it. 133 people. And so this typically are people that are local to Darien. And so a lot of times, there's Jamie Stevenson, who's our first select woman. This was a way for me to deep dive into if I needed to know something was going on specific to Darien. But if you're a small business owner in a certain community, you could create a list like this for the small business. But it's a way to get out of all the other stuff in Twitter. And I personally don't necessarily follow all of these, but I can go in and put them on a Twitter list. And basically what I've now done is created this wonderful filter where I'm getting hopefully a more immediate access to the information I need. I'm gonna go back to the lists. Another one I really like, I made one of I called them critical thinkers, right? And critical thinkers were people they either were my clients, they're people I really admire, they're people I wouldn't mind being my clients. And so again, it's a filter where I can get their information in one place. It also makes it really easy for me to engage with them. So I don't have to scroll through 18 CNN posts to see something that I really want to either like, comment, share, or retweet. So again, thinking about that defensive mode of, okay, I've filtered it, I'm controlling, we're now moving over to engaging and almost that offensive of, I'm starting to build relationships, sharing content, and being strategic about the information, the people that I'm engaging with or the content that I'm putting out. So to actually, I'm going to preempt that, to actually, let's say, put somebody on a list, right? I'm going to have to go to, Felicia, are you on? I'll go to HAYVN because we'll make sure HAYVN Coworking, right? So there's HAYVN. HAYVN's profile comes up. You click on the three dots and it'll say add or remove from lists. So I'm going to say add to lists. And oops, put them on local Twitterazzi. So I'm going to do that right now so I don't miss HAYVN's posting. So I've now added them to local Twitterazzi. I don't know if you noticed, but some of those lists I have locks. That means they're private. Nobody else can see that list but me. So that's a great way to do research on competitors and other people who you don't want into this, who you want to see what they're doing, but you might not necessarily want to follow them. So that's your ninja. That's your ninja trick on with regard to lists. It's a very underutilized tool, but I find it a great way to make Twitter feel more manageable.
Nancy, there was one question. Is the naming the list? Do you name it?
Totally. All of those were made by me. I can call them, whatever I want. And for the private ones, it doesn't matter. The public ones, people can see. So if you went to my profile, you could see my public lists, right? I think, and it'll say, these are the ones I owned, and it might say, these are the ones I'm on. But yeah, totally up to you. You can create as many or as few as you want. And again, start small and start with a private list just for your own personal. That's a great question. Thanks, Felicia. The other thing we're going to talk about a lot is hashtags. And again, I find hashtags a great way to filter information. So again, if you know there is an area you're interested in, we're going to talk more about this specific to Instagram, but being smart about, oh, my internet's, I'm going to talk slower, I'm worried about my internet, but using hashtags like HAYVN Magic is kind of very specific to you, HAYVN, but let's say, I think about some slightly smaller terms where, again, following maybe a hashtag is easier for consumption and easier for getting more of the information you want versus following maybe every single person in that category tweeting about something. So I'm going to talk more about that in Instagram because it's a lot easier to follow hashtags in Instagram. So I'm going to switch. That's like a sort of quick deep dive into Twitter. In terms of Facebook, especially recently, I find I'm going more into Facebook when I want to see something. I don't find myself going into Facebook just to sort of open it up and scroll. By default, that sometimes happens, but I personally have been finding that it's serving up dated information that seems out of touch, or it starts repeating. It just doesn't seem to be refreshing my feed the way I would want it to be working. So a couple of things that I like to advise people to do is, if there are specific people or companies you want to hear from, then make sure you have told Facebook that. So again, I'm going to walk in. I can't remember, HAYVN, if I've done this for you, but you'll be example. So if I go in for HAYVN Coworking, right? Basically, right? So obviously I've liked the HAYVN page, but you can take it one step further, because just because I've liked this page doesn't mean that that I'm going to see every great thing that they're posting. So the next step you can take is under the liked button. If you hold the arrow down, I didn't mean to unlike. Where did it go? Okay, we'll come back. I think my computer is responding very slowly. But under here, where I had the option to see this content first. I don't know why it's disappeared. But I say, oh, there we go, see first. So if I click see first, that means HAYVN's content, when I go to my feed, will pop up first. And this conversation came out of a call with we run a board call, and one of the board members says, I never see, this nonprofit's content. And I said, well, you need to go in and check this. So now, typically every time now when I open up Facebook, HAYVN's content is going to pop up first. So again, this is great either if it's for your business, a business you work for, and more than one. So I typically have checked family members, or, and you can also do the opposite for people you want to see less of, but you didn't hear that from me. But it's not to control your feed. So now again, you're controlling the good stuff that you want to see, and you're also giving info, and typically you would probably want to engage with that content. So you're again giving Facebook, and you're teaching these algorithms how to slightly think more like you do. The other tip I have specific to Facebook is actually joining groups or being active in groups. Facebook tends to serve up content from groups that you're in higher. And again, in theory, if you have joined groups, it means you want to see the information that they're sharing. Again, it's more engaging. So the other strategy I really like, and where I found more kind of satisfaction and engagement, using Facebook groups. I haven't given up. Facebook's fine, but those are kind of the two ways I am telling Facebook, this is how I want to engage, on Facebook. Any questions, Felicia, before I shift over to Instagram, which might take a
yes. Yeah, there's a few questions here. Some were for Twitter and some were for Facebook. So
Okay.
Since you're on Facebook right now, can you show that Facebook's see first functionality again?
So it's under, I don't know why my computer's not cooperating. It typically pops up under that liked function when you're on somebody else's page. I don't know why mine's being a little bit wonky, but go to somebody's page, you've got oh, there it is. So hover over, it just keeps moving, but hover over the liked and you should get that option too. The default is, content, but let me go back. I don't know why it's not showing it.
Yeah, but it showed it once, right?
Yeah,
so,
see first, default, or unfollow. And you can also unfollow without unliking somebody, which was what I was talking about, where you're not going to see their content, but they don't know you haven't unliked them.
Okay. And then Emily Mahoney has asked, is there a limit on Facebook to how many you can ask to see first?
I have not experienced that. I mean, I don't know that you do hundreds, but I haven't been given, basically you're just helping Facebook serve you the stuff you want to see. So in theory, I think you're doing their job. You're making their job easier.
Okay.
Great question.
Okay. And then on, I think Ginny Hull had asked, is there an indication in the broad feed that a post entity is on one of your lists? And that was for Twitter.
That if it's on a public list, not your private list, it can say, so for example, when we went to, I think I'm answering your question. If you, what's the best way to say, list owned, subscribe. So see where it says I'm a member? These are lists somebody else has put me on. So these are obviously public lists, but I'm a member of these other ones. And I can actually subscribe to or follow other people. So here are examples of conferences or people who these are other people's lists. Like Catherine Duran's a local person in town and got inspired by her hometown Twits list. Looks like a lot like my local Twitterazzi list. Did that answer the question? So I can actually go subscribe to other people's public lists. And if somebody puts me on a public list, you can see that I'm on a public list. That answer your question?
That was Jenny.
And I think I might get a notification that somebody has put me on a public list.
Okay. And then Kate had asked, while we're on Twitter, can you show us how to make the list private?
Great question. Let's do that. And I think this is the create a list. So it would give it the name, it would be a description, and then when I'm making the list, it says make private. Only I can see it. You click that checkbox. Got it?
Great. Okay. So
okay.
I think that's it for now for questions.
Awesome. Super. So on Instagram, where I feel of us are spending more time, it's a little more happy and fluffy and pictures and inspiration. And where I really, really, really love filter with regard to Instagram. I think they do a pretty good job of showing me stuff. I feel like we're seeing a few more ads, is the idea of following hashtags. And I don't know if that's something, it's a new concept for you, but it's something I found really useful. Oh, poor internet. And so, again, this is a way to filter what I'm seeing, but this is almost to me become an offensive strategy. So again, I work with writers and authors. I could just obviously follow, books of Instagram, right? 4,500,000 posts. I don't need to see that many posts if, I'm following that. So what I say to people is think about some hashtags that are very kind of specific to your industry, specific to maybe just your passion or your interest, that are not so broad like books of Instagram. But an example I use is new title, I think I'm calling it Title Tuesday, right? And the reason that's important is most books that are published, or at least traditionally published, come out on Tuesdays. So by this title, and literally you type in a hashtag, it tells you kind of how big the universe is. By following it in my feed, I now will get posts that are hashtag new title Tuesday. Why do I do that? Well, it's again an opportunity for me to engage, communicate, like, comment in maybe places where I otherwise wouldn't be following. And I don't need to follow either every bookstore, or every author to get this content, but by following kind of this very specific and niche hashtag, I'm getting this in my feed on a regular basis. And I sometimes see and learn about things I wouldn't otherwise know. So I really, and you can, follow what you need be. I was in the middle of reading Michelle Obama's book last year, I Am Becoming, and I started following the hashtag I Am Becoming. And it was really fun to sort of see this fan base created by using that hashtag. So for me, this is one of the most kind of fun ways to, again, not feel like you're scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, but to find new communities and new places. And again, this can become part of your hashtag strategy in terms of you want your content to appear. So you've got some time, use this almost as research time to figure out like, yeah, I like, and you may think of a hashtag, go to it and be like, ooh, not working for me. I don't want, that's not what I thought I was getting. Right. But, I haven't researched co-working and all that for HAYVN, but I think again, there's some hashtags where you want to end up appearing in that space.
There was one question from Kathy Blood. How do you see a trending tag when looking at post volume?
Good question. Typically, I'm not sure that works the same way as Twitter. I don't know that in the organic way that I'm searching on Instagram. I'm not sure she means like what's hot at the moment. The other reason that's tricky about what's trending versus what's not is, as you're now finding, is we're not always seeing that Instagram content at the exact time, right? Like it might have been trending 6 hours or 12 hours ago by the time it gets in our feed. That's why I kind of follow the ones that seem to be more community based than trending. But I'm not sure I've answered Kathy's question. If she wants to, or I'm not sure the answer to her question. But I'll happily take it offline, or we can do it more in the Q&A. Is that good?
She said you answered it, yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to go quickly to LinkedIn, which, as you know, is one of my favorite platforms as well. And again, even here, for some people, it's actually a shock to come and find out that LinkedIn is looking more like Facebook and everything else. But I find that LinkedIn probably does the best job, at least for me, of my feed being stuff that I do want to see. But again, in the same way we've talked about on these other platforms, you can use hashtags as another way. So I went ahead and typed in the word book marketing, right? So if I hit follow, now anybody who's put any sort of, anybody who's used the hashtag book marketing, their post will show up in my feed. Do I have to follow them? No, but I'm going to see their content because I'm now following that hashtag. So here's Jen Grace, who many of us know. But again, just if you search on a hashtag before you follow it, same way, it will show you people. Oh, look, there's me. It will show you people who are also in this space, and you get a good feel. So I got excited because here's a literary agent. I'm trying to build my relationship with a literary agent. So again, I've now said to LinkedIn, I'm really interested in this content. Please show me this. I'm not getting bombarded by, no offense, real estate friends, but the gazillion of you that I follow that are sharing your real estate listings. I now have control over my LinkedIn experience. The other way, and I'll make sure some people know, is you can actually, let's say you have industry leaders that you're interested in what they're putting out on LinkedIn, you can actually just follow them without being their friend. And again, this is a nice way to engage. Let's see if I can find an example. So Mari Smith is really big in the Facebook world, right? She's a second connection. I can't connect with her anymore, probably because she's just sort of said her plate's full. But I totally could follow Mari so that, again, I'm seeing her content. Why do I do that? One, I'm seeing the content, but two, I get the opportunity that there are probably more people like me who are following her content, who are sharing helpful information, and I can like and engage with her content. Again, telling LinkedIn, show me more of this, but I also may be finding people that I want to connect with that might also be following Mari. So thinking following people, not just your connections. And sometimes I follow people for a little while before I get up the, let's say, confidence. I've been following your content, I'm really interested. Or maybe I've engaged in their content enough that it then becomes totally comfortable and authentic, connect with them in real life. So that's another way I like for people to think about using LinkedIn to control what they're seeing, but also start thinking about how they're being thoughtful and intentional and meaningful in what they're doing on LinkedIn. So those are the four kind of ones where I feel, I didn't want to go too broad, but I'm happy to leave my screens up or give examples or answer questions and see if anybody else have thoughts or ways that they're doing this.
Yeah, this was wonderful, Nancy. Yeah, and we can unmute and continue conversation. It's a whole different way to think about, a different way for social media. And I need to spend some more time on it myself. I think.
Well, I think
to do it.
Yeah, the thinking was, if we're spending more time right now, I really wanted to have people be thinking about, like, okay, I'm on social media bad, I shouldn't be doing so much of it. To, okay, if I'm going to spend time on social media or more time on social media that I usually do, let me think of it as being intentional. Let me think of it as being meaningful. Let me think of it being strategic. And again, we can't be out meeting people. So how about using social media to be meeting or engaging right now? So as we come out of this, there are new, you have been thoughtfully engaging and sort of building this virtually using social in a different way.
I see now there's more questions coming in.
Okay.
Do you want me to read them from chat or?
Sure. Well, I just thought that way I can leave my other screen up if people have specific questions to, like, showing something on the screens. That would be great.
Okay, great. So Holly Hurd asked, is it better to do a list of hashtags in a comment right after you do an Instagram post or at the bottom of your post?
50-50. It's all a matter of preference, Holly. I hear it really is how you prefer your content to look. And I also say to people, just experiment. I do find there are times it fits that it stays in your original, and I find there are other times when it might just look nicer to have it at the bottom. But I did learn from one of our other HAYVN experts that 9 is the magic number in your own posts in terms of not too much, not too little.
Okay, let's see. And then Holly asked if we recorded this. Yes, we did. Okay, Susan Elliott asked, she just said that this is really helpful.
Super.
Okay. Let's see, Michael Reeves asked, any views on LinkedIn Sales Navigator versus Premium?
I'm an organic girl in LinkedIn. I am not the expert once you go into Premium and Sales Navigator. So I can advocate for the organic version. I can't pretend to be an expert on either one of those.
I can say I actually use LinkedIn Premium and love it, and have used it for over a year, like for job search and also just to see who is actually looking at your LinkedIn.
And I think also what I would say is it depends on what you need, Michael. If it's personal and making connection, or versus if you're in full-on sales mode and you actually have a funnel or a sales mechanism in place, Sales Navigator might be better. I think Premium, if you're that solopreneur and you're doing everything, that's exactly as Felicia said.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see, Kate asked, regarding Instagram. I'm following 1,000 people, but the same ones always show up on my feed. How do I get to see content from the rest of them in my feed?
Exactly. So kind of what we were talking about is making sure that the people that, we don't quite have the same feature in Instagram to go and say follow first, there's first. You consciously go to the ones you're missing, and you make sure you are liking their stuff, and or even more importantly, actually commenting. You're then Instagram, this is important to me. I content, please show me more of it.